So I've been an experiencer most of my life. It started through telepathy at the age of 7. Now, I didn't know what they were at the time. I didn't know if they were ETs, even though we see similar things in movies. I didn't know if they were angels, demons. I just didn't know what they were. Leading up to my first UFO sighting at the age of 12. Didn't really talk about that sort of stuff, and my parents thought it was a bit weird. I'd make sort of prophecies, predictions from 7 with the telepathy I was getting. Not long after that, I started to see blue orbs over us that had been analysed by Jason Glee's ex-UK Air Force Aerospace. Eventually what happened was there was 6 months of series of physical contacts with a being called Shiji, who's from the Pleiades. Because I do have pretty much the largest catalogue of UFO footage on the planet, most of it in 4K, and it's daytime, along with a lot of paranormal activity caught on camera, aliens, extraterrestrials caught on camera and video. I think they're everywhere. These crafts are everywhere, and I'm able to pick up on it, and there's technology on the crafts that they can pick up on me picking up when they're about. Bridge a gap between the paranormal community and the UFO community and the scientific community, because this all needs to come together, but it comes down to the conscious aspect of intention. For some reason, this is part of my mission, documenting and getting all this stuff out there and experiencing it, and it's going to be different from the next man.
Hey guys, welcome to Edge of Wonder. We're with a very special guest here at ECETI with Peter Maxwell Slattery, who is an author and an actual ET contactee. And you have some amazing footage.
It's literally the best footage we've ever seen. It might be the best footage on the planet of extraterrestrial contact ships. Everything you can possibly imagine, and he's got an amazing story, so we're going to be going into all of that in this episode.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yeah.
G'day, everyone. This is good.
Yeah.
How's your experience at ECETI so far?
Yeah,
and you've been here for 3 months or something like that,
3
right?
months, yeah. I usually come here sort of 3 months at a time at the moment. There's been a lot. It's a good place sort of on the off days to get into meditation, self-mastery work, and then, the weekends with events and conferences, workshops. You meet a lot of good people and learn a lot of things, so it's a really cool spot for doing all that, plus getting to see the crafts and have contact in a group collective setting as well.
So one of the, we're going to go into a bunch of the footage that you've collected, but one of the craziest things I saw was, since you've been here, it seems, you got a shot of a craft flying out of Mount Adams, which is to our right now, right?
That one was actually a couple of years ago.
It was a couple years ago.
Yeah, but it is a common thing. James has got similar stuff as well, but that night I just happened to have the infrared monocular on the mountain at the time, or pointing lasers. There was activity going on, then you just see this light just fly out of the mountain. So yeah, that mountain's known for a lot of activity.
And what do you think that was, Peter? Do you think it was a weather balloon?
Yeah, I think it might have been. Nah, mucking around.
Weather balloon traveling at 1,500 miles an hour out of the mountain.
Or as James says, people say it's hikers, so now we've got them on jetpacks flying off at light speed. You never know, man. You never know. Bit of a mixed bag.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was out there, I was staring at the mountain and I had the infrared goggles, and 2 lights appeared, and then all these lights appeared in between, and they started sparkling, and I was so freaked out. I was like, man, this is great. This is the craziest mountain I've ever seen.
Yeah, it goes back, hundreds of years, if not beyond that. But we got a few hundred years of documentation with the Native Americans with this area. We got the Yakima Lights. Kenneth Arnold followed the objects to land on that view there. We've got Mount Adams, so it's got a huge history going back a long way now.
Wow.
So yeah, can you tell us about some of the? I mean, you've been in this for a while, actually. You get a lot of heat for all of the work that you've been doing, and we're going to go into that in a little bit. But it'd be really cool for you to tell us about some of the craziest stuff that you've captured since you've started this journey of yours.
Yeah, so I've been an experiencer most of my life. It started through telepathy at the age of 7. After that, I was visited by, they look like greys, but they were white. Their skin texture was almost like cigarette ash if you dab it with your finger, that sort of weird texture you get. And they're known as the Guardian race, and they're either 5 foot to 7 foot, 5 foot to 7 foot tall, depending on which ones you're interacting with. Now, I didn't know what they were at the time. I didn't know if they were ETs, even though we see similar things in movies. I didn't know if they were angels, demons. I just didn't know what they were. leading up to my first UFO sighting at the age of 12, which was an object that looked like the weight on the end of a workout bar. You know, like, yeah, when you go to the gym, the weight's on the end, but it was on its side. It was like a dark, matte grey, not really shiny, but it was about 3 times the size of a football field. And it cut in front of a hill in my hometown until it just went out of view. Didn't really talk about that sort of stuff, and you know, my parents thought it was a bit weird. I'd make sort of prophecies, predictions from 7 with the telepathy I was getting, and I had high strangeness happen after that, which is basically paranormal activity. Any type of paranormal activity you can think of, it's going to happen. It seems to be like a byproduct for experiences. So I went, you know, through my normal sort of day-to-day life for a while. Even though I was doing music at the time, I was a rap artist at the time for, you know, after the teenage years.
That's right. Actually, I heard last night, I was sitting out there and someone told me you rapped, and I was like, oh, what? I haven't even gotten to see it yet, but I really am looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, so I was doing that for a while, and I ended up on Hollywood, on the Gold Coast. It's just the Gold Coast in Australia. Yeah. I had a penthouse. It was like $500 a day penthouse, just blowing money.
Wow.
But I wasn't happy. But I was, you know, having these experiences. I was open to all this and experiencing it, but I just didn't really have that connection with it. And then I went back to my hometown, Albury, which is sort of halfway between Melbourne and Sydney, give or take. And I started to film these objects that ended up on the news. I contacted the air services. Everyone was telling me, I've got the emails to this day, that there was no air traffic in the sky at that time, and people were with me. One of the objects I showed you guys during the presentation, where I point and you can see this light just start off. So things were getting pretty weird at that time, and not long after that I started to see blue orbs. Now the funny thing is, talking to Corey Good now, I was public at it pretty much at around 2011, 2012 before him, but there was details I didn't reveal about those experiences that talking to him, only he would know if he'd experienced it. So I started to trip out. He calls them the blue spheres. I just call them the blue orbs. Pretty much the same thing, this beautiful liquid blue light. Eventually there was experiences revealing to me who they were, and they would manifest into 7-foot tall light beings after that, and also pick me up in these blue vehicles that were the same colour as them. So around that time, a bit after that, after being introduced to these beings, now these were physical contacts as they could be with these light beings during the day, and people have experienced them with me. Over in Australia, about 300 people have been witnesses to events and being there when I've taken a lot of these photos and videos. You can hear them in the crowds, or with the Skywatchers, sometimes up to 200 people in broad daylight. We've got crafts over us that have been analysed by Jason Glee's ex-UK Air Force Aerospace, Jaime Massan's group, Terza Millennia. Different factions of Japanese TV have done specials on myself with the material. I've been taken to Italy, Dubai, a lot of different places for this now. But eventually what happened was there was 6 months of series of physical contacts with a being called Shiji, who's from the Pleiades. Now, a lot of this information now is in books, what happened. It continues now. But it's got, you know, weirder as it went along. There was other beings that somehow I knew them, but I didn't know how I knew them, through visitations, whether in dream state, physically. There's a couple of spots I do have physical contact when I'm called to at times through telepathy in Australia. And there was one photo I hadn't released yet, which is the being on the craft through the window. That was one of the spots where I have the contacts happen. It sort of looks like Yoda with black eyes, just a weird looking dude. So I could go on literally for hours. I'm sort of just trying to give a thumbnail sketch of the vast material, because I do have pretty much the largest catalogue of UFO footage on the planet, most of it in 4K, and it's daytime, along with a lot of paranormal activity caught on camera, aliens, extraterrestrials caught on camera and video. all the good stuff that I've put out has been analysed. I've got a metal sample, or more like a crystal type sample that they use in the structure of the craft for a symbiotic relationship between the vehicle and the pilot or people on craft. I've got a landing that's happened. I've got soil samples analysed with anomalies in it. It's a big thing, and even James Gilliland lived with me for 3 months and got to witness this himself in Australia, and along with many other people as well.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is
Yeah, I had a bit too much coffee this morning, trying to get back in my body.
Actually,
Sorry,
that's
guys.
perfect. Just let us have it.
Yeah.
That-
Hopefully you can all understand the Australian accent. It's pretty strong from where I'm from in Australia.
No, it's all good.
Actually, we have a lot of fans in Australia, and we should do a quick shout out to Donkey Face out there. he's a really big fan. He's from Australia. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, tons of people out there watching
Yeah.
us. So,
Great.
Yeah, I'm sure they're familiar with your work too, and they'll be happy to see you on here.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the support, everyone. Yeah.
Stay tuned for more from the edge.
So hey, you know, with all of this, with all the kind of documented cases, there's a couple of questions I have out from that, which is, one, I mean, it almost feels like it's like your mission to be documenting these things. You know, like your entire life is kind of pointed in the direction of almost their appearing in front of you. It almost seems it's like wherever you're going, you're actually having these experiences. You're documenting it. You're getting it out there. You're creating this I don't want to say movement because that's kind of a strong word, but you're creating this effect in society where people are actually starting to wake up. So, you know, what do you feel about that? And then why do you think you're getting attacked, and why do you think people are kind of coming down so hard on you?
I think it's there's different layers to all that. Like I think now it leads them to the conscious aspect UFOs. You know, talking to James over the years as well and other contactees, it's basically sort of like the bait to get you hooked into the greater reality, because as we spoke about before doing this, the ETs are a small part to what I've experienced now. It wasn't like that at the start. I was thinking, oh, ETs, you know. I started to get pulled to, and even now I get pulled to what I call the geometric light realms. Everything's geometry, it's fractal, there's beings, there can be physicality in it, and they showed me this resides around source itself. And so the UFOs, I think, even though I've got contact going on with the majority of what I see, I think they're everywhere. These crafts are everywhere, and I'm able to pick up on it, and there's technology on the crafts that they can pick up on me picking up when they're about. It's like, I've never talked about this, but it's almost like at times I feel like I've got this massive bubble around me that goes for like a mile, and if something comes into that, I just know to walk outside. Like so many people can tell, even James can tell you, I will just walk outside in broad daylight and it's literally right above the house. Like I don't have to go out and skywatch, I just go out and it's there. And it's through that thought transfer telepathy that they will put a thought in your consciousness to go outside. So you think it's you going to go outside and you're going to see a craft. No, they gave you that thought using your own thought process. And so this is multidimensional language, and this is really what it leads to even with the CE5s that I do, which is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, where we initiate contact. And so we've got to have twofold, and that's sort of the process where I'm trying to help now, is bridge a gap between the paranormal community and the UFO community and the scientific community, because this all needs to come together, but it comes down to the conscious aspect of intention. And so putting that in the public domain, but slowly weaning people into that from, oh, this is all nuts and bolts, UFOs, aliens, to, oh, this is a lot trippier and deeper than what I could have ever imagined. And so the attacks have come with that, I think, because I haven't kept it nuts and bolts. I think especially with the community, the UFO community worldwide, see, I was already known. And then you throw on top that all of a sudden I'm on the news for UFOs. See, the thing is, I went to a lot of UFO groups and communities trying to get help, finding out what was going on. And during that time, I did about 3 years of meditating and remote viewing every day, because I really opened right up. Like it was all I was doing all the time. But what I found out was that if you can't be somebody's story, and usually the UFO groups are part of promoting this phenomena or cases, well then, if they can't make a story of you, you aren't going to get sort of known all your information out there. The funny thing is I skipped all that and ended up going internationally with it, which I didn't ask for. I didn't ask for the news stations. It did rule my life. At times I was going everywhere and I could see people doing this around me, or in mirrors or windows, reflections. I've been shot at. I've had the surveillance that is just crazy surveillance that had come with it. Like one instance, when I got back from America, every time I opened up my laptop, everyone's else internet was shut down. What we found out was I rang up the internet provider, who was an American, head of IT bloke and head of the internet provider agency. And he said, can you plug your computer up to the modem? I just want a discount Wi-Fi connection. All of a sudden, a red box came up with all these numbers. I gave him the numbers with like a beep tone to it. And long story short, this is all documented on video. Everything on my computers were being uploaded, going through a loop in a series of places in America back to Sandia Labs.
Wow.
I've had people play with my phone, like phone line, power box, drones flying around me. Like I'll be outside and a drone will just come over, circle the house a few times and just go off. This has happened to me on the beach. I've seen the drones come out from the ocean, do the same thing. And I've filmed these when it's happened as well.
So Peter, this is crazy what you were just talking about. So was this happening in America or is this like Australia? Was it only happening in Australia?
It's happening everywhere I go in the world.
Really?
Yeah, literally Bali, Dubai, Italy, Mexico, America, Australia. That's the countries I've been to, and it doesn't matter where I go. It's happening all the time. But like I said, I feel that this stuff's going on all the time. One part of it's being consciously aware, and I think part of it's me as well. I think it's a culmination of it. It's not like I'm special. The abilities and things and access to things with consciousness and things that we can all do them. It's just, for some reason, this is part of my mission, documenting and getting all this stuff out there and experiencing it. And it's going to be different from the next man. But you bring us all together, which we should be doing as a community. That jigsaw puzzle starts to build a big picture where there's more understanding on so many different aspects, whether it's science, spirituality, or technology, whatever the case may be. It's that's where we need to be going. But it's just everyone playing their part.
Actually, I mean, that was a really good answer. But what I meant was the download on your computer of them, like the drones and everything else that was going on. Is that happening also in the US?
Oh yeah.
Or is it? Yeah.
Oh no, it doesn't. Yeah, it's there's a few strange things that are happening in other countries, but it's mainly the US and Australia. Yeah, like I've probably got 50 videos of black helicopters alone. Sometimes there'll be 7 of them, sometimes there's 1.
But they don't interact with you directly. They just fly over and surveil, or?
The thing is, like, I was shot at from one here in America at Yelm.
What?
I was shot at from a black helicopter in Yelm.
No way.
I think that was about 3 years ago when I was here to do a series of conferences and events. And yeah, I had a couple of people with me. One of them actually lived in the ghetto in Brazil, and she'd never been so frightened in her life. The thing is, if they want to be dead...
I was going to say, that was a warning shot.
That's what I mean. I feel that this is either intimidation or just to let us know we're watching. That's, like I say to anybody good at assassinations, doing whatever they're going to do, if they're going to do it, it's just going to get done.
But the real question is, why? Like, why get upset at you for documenting this stuff and trying to put it out? Like, why do you think that that's happening? You know, Corey has been dealing with a lot of this stuff too, and it'd be good to get your perspective on it.
I think there are opposing factions within, I reckon even beyond what we could even perceive as black ops. There is a war going on. There is elements that know what's going on to some extent, even though that's compartmentalised as well. And I think because this is happening to me all the time, some of it's surveillance and some of it's intimidation tactics to shut me up, but it's ruined my life. This has ruined my life. It's been beautiful, the people that I've met, where I've grown and evolved, but it's, in some parts of my life, it's made it very hard to keep going as well, because you're dealing with something that, for one thing, you got the experiences. I went and got brain scans. I thought I was going insane, but I'm getting it on video. There's people with me, you know what I mean? These things that you do question. And then I've spoken to people in governments as well about this, that they've warned me that they're going to try and keep things okay for me as well. I don't trust anyone. I don't care. All I know is that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. If I'm meant to be taken out, I'll get taken out. But they're wasting a lot of time and resources, I think, when they even know what's going on to an extent. You know, why follow me? Why do this to me when you guys know what's going on to an extent, but the flip side of that, maybe some of these elements don't, and they're following me to find out what's going on if they haven't got access to certain information in the projects. And so there has been military bases I've been taken to. I've got scar marks on me. Me and Corey were talking about it. It's happened 3 times to me, and there's usually been an Australian person and 2 Americans in one plainclothes and 2 different type of military outfits that they've had on. So there is that factor as well. And the thing with this, people want a black and white answer. And the problem with it is that the shade of grey in between that is huge. It's not always just this is the answer. And with some of that, I'm theorising with what I'm saying to you because I don't know what's coming from their perspective. It's just from years of it, I can only tell you from my opinion and my thoughts on that as well. But you know, the people in black projects I've spoken to, every time they say they're in the blackest group, they're in the know, and it's like, it just doesn't operate that way.
If you want a place with no weird agendas, a place where you know you'll always get the truth about all kinds of crazy and fascinating topics, you gotta check out
edgeofwonder.tv. If you can, please support us, guys, because this is an opportunity for us to grow edgeofwonder.tv into an awesome platform for all of us like-minded people who want to know the truth and not be misled by the mainstream media, or even social media for that matter. Get access to our exclusive content right here.
right now. So, Peter, do you know much about Pine Gap, Australia?
Not a heap, but probably more than the average person. So that was, I think, created around 1966 as a joint facility between the US and Australia. Now, there is facilities underneath there that can't be seen, of course, because it's underground. Though it's a main defence strategic point for both of our countries. So I know for a fact that a lot of the drones, they're either flown out of Pine Gap for the US, joint with Australian, or they're flown out of Catalina Island here just off Los Angeles. And so if you wanted to take out America or to have a better chance, you'd take out Australia first at Pine Gap, because what happens is there would start to be a delay in space defence systems and satellites.
Oh, wow.
But that's why we've got that treaty between us as well. And so we had that also from the Apollo missions. So there is a big strategic point for the relationship that we have. Now, there is reports of a lot of phenomena happening around that area as well. One report I can remember hearing years ago was that, similar to what Bob Lazar has described about the flying saucer, apparently there's been a few of them seen out there, but there's a backwards American flag on them.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there could, and I know of other facilities out there that's more black than Pine Gap. It's hard, like pretty much we're talking in the middle of nowhere. Most of them are Western Australia sort of area, which is huge, absolutely huge area. Western Australia itself covers from the bottom to the north side of the country. But there is a lot of reports of stuff out there that have been seen, and you know, again,
Like military craft and stuff?
yeah, well, some of these could even be alien reproduction vehicles that it's either that or it's ET craft that they're trying to back engineer. And I know that what's happening too, I don't think I've talked about this publicly before. I've even had one bloke drop groceries in a supermarket in front of me one day. He couldn't believe who he was looking at. I thought he was wanting to fight me. I just didn't know it was a weird situation. I'm doing some shopping. And he had the same story as another bloke that came to me 3 years beforehand. Now, they were sent here in the late 70s and 80s. And their job was to work on the blueprint for ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles, in Melbourne for Lockheed Martin. And why would that be in Melbourne? But he didn't have like a huge facility. It was more like an office place. And what I found out later that they work on the blueprints in Australia, and then they send those back to America, and at other facilities they actually implement the physical structural design of that craft that they're working on. So, you know, 2 different sources, years apart, telling the exact same story, where they worked. I could verify where they worked, and even the location. It was near where I was living at one time as well. So there's a huge connection between, you know, Pine Gap, the back engineering, working in sync with the US, and again, compartmentalization with all this.
Well, you know, on Google Maps, exactly what you're talking about, there's actually a photo of a triangular craft with 3 lights on it that's very obvious on Google Maps. not there anymore. If you try to look in that area,
I think I've seen the one you're talking about.
Yeah, okay.
And it's trippy because that's sort of where we went from those ARVs up to, you know, the TR, you know, the triangles. I think they're TR3Bs, people call them commonly. Yep. But there's a whole different range of vehicles that we're definitely working on here from back engineering.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty trippy stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So, you know, a lot of people say, how do you know what's theirs and what's ours? I doubt they'll be showing a lot of what's theirs in the cities. Like, why would they, unless it's going to be like a threat from outer space type of scenario, which I do believe the first part of going to the next phase of disclosure, from what the beings have revealed to me, is it's going to be like the truth wrapped in a lie. But the truth is going to be a little bit after that, with the fact that there's other races out there besides what we are going to be revealed to first.
Got ya.
Yeah.
So there's some disclosure they have on the horizon, is what you're trying to say.
Well, they're warning me that this is most likely going to happen. But there's another aspect where there's going to be like a 20, 30 year rollout. I wrote about this a while ago, talking to Corey yesterday, same information, that it will be slowly, you know, introducing these new technologies, cleaning up the environment. All these things can be rectified, us then going out into a space exploration society. But first we have to clean up home, clean up individually, clean up the collective, and then we can go and do that. But we could actually do that in another scenario overnight if there was unity, consciousness. But that can be a byproduct at the going through the phase of the 30-year rollout.
Right.
It's going to take a bit of time, and it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of, you know, like with me, I had to go and re-educate myself. It's like I had to be really skeptical in a positive way and look at both sides of arguments to come to a logical conclusion. A lot of the history that we think we know in education.
Yeah.
Because it's one-sided. So there's going to be a lot of turmoil, but enlightening times at the same time. It's going to be a bit of a mixed bag.
Awesome. So, you know, you're kind of talking about more of like the spiritual aspect now and everything, and going back, like, so we were talking to James and he was talking about how you actually were the one that captured the Guanyin that came to you, and he has it on the wall over here. Can you explain more in detail, like what happened? Like, you know, how did you capture this? What did you see, and the whole process?
And then you even got it checked by someone to make sure that it was valid, right? So talk
Yeah.
a little bit about all this.
Like either way, I'm getting to the point I don't care, but it's like doing it just to go, you know, this has been analysed straight off the bat. But it's a mixed bag what can happen with the photos. Sometimes I physically see the entities, which in that case, I physically saw her. Other times I'll feel energies about, or I'll see something phasing in and out, take a photo, something will be on it. And other times I won't see anything at all and they'll appear on camera, which sometimes I think is a projection. It's almost like a profile shot. And so the skull experiments, which was done, I think in the 90s maybe, which is people can find that on YouTube. It was a proper documentary made on these experiments. They would just leave even cameras in the middle of the room, and on the roll of film when they got them printed, objects or beings would appear on it. So it's a mixed bag, but that particular incident, James was actually hanging right where we're sitting down now, hanging out with me. We sort of parted our ways that night with a few of the crew here. I sat down maybe 5-10 minutes into it. I've got like a podcast or something just playing on YouTube, I think it was at the time. Now what first happened was at the end of the bed was a pure white light orb manifest. And it was starting to strobe, went solid, and then like these rays came out from it and the being appeared in the photo, Kuan Yin. And so I had my phone on charge next to the bed. He grabbed that, and people who were with me, James can tell you for a fact, when there's something there, how quickly the camera comes out.
Yeah.
I've almost brainwashed myself to be like that over the years. I've had to do that because it's sort of like, I wanted to capture all this. But there was probably a 20-second period where she was fully manifested. I was more in awe than anything with the communication, but what she did do was turn her head and look at me, and there was sort of between a smirk and a smile. And then she just completely blinked out. Like there was no phasing out or slowly dematerialising, it was completely blinking out. And a lot of the time that I've spoken about the crafts landing on me. So I showed you this footage of the craft 5 foot off the ground, about 100 feet from where we are now, not far in front of the Skywatch field. That's what's happening a lot of the time, is the crafts and the beings will be in apparition form. And so I've got that on a lot of photos and videos as well, where they can land the craft on you at night time in your bedroom. You'll get like a whoomp, whoomp, whoomp sound, like a very low Tibetan singing bowl and a really high one sort of intermingled. and they will vibrate you onto the craft. And that's what
Wow.
I've seen and experienced a lot of times. But they do it sometimes physically and sometimes with your light body. Now, talking to the King in Australia and Native American elders, they sort of laughed and they said that's exactly how it works. And some people think they're going into space or another place, but what's happening is they're landing on you like a ghost. Now, when that happens, the sound of the environment will go slightly muffled. Sometimes you'll hear silence, you'll feel energies around you, and in your peripheral vision, you'll even see the beings in mist form like a ghost. And so they're outside of our frequency. That we can only see a fraction of 0.005% of physical matter, and only a tiny of that which is the visible light spectrum. So we're capturing things on infrared just outside of that UV, but there's all this other matter that we don't understand, but we can perceive, and also the mind's eye is a great conduit to be able to experience these other realms as well.
That's amazing.
It's a mixed bag what's going on.
Yeah.
Really big mixed bag what's going on.
So some people might ask why, some of the beings that have been captured are like blurry, I guess you could say.
That's
Is that
one thing I talk
fast, or is that the beings themselves are causing this?
a mixture. I talked to Jason Gleaves again. That photo we're talking about, that was analysed by Jason Gleaves. He's very famous in the community in terms of he's got UFO only. He's an image analysis expert, and he's ex-UK Air Force and aerospace. So he knows what's in our skies, he knows what's real, what's not. He's validated everything along with other investigators, given the original, looked at the metadata and all that. But what's happening, I talked to him about this because I said, I don't even want to reveal half of this because it looks dodgy to me, some of it. Sometimes you'll take something and it's almost zooming in and out, it's like auto-focusing.
Yeah.
Well, what I can't prove this, and we had a good chat about this, is that the camera's trying to focus on something that's coming into this reality that's vibrating differently from the frequency we're on. So, for example, the Shiji photo of the Pleiadian that landed on my bedroom, which has even been remote viewed and given the all-go from John Vivanco, the remote viewer as well, he got the exact same data. So he investigated me and he asked me what the experience was before he gave me the results. And every time I gave him the information that he remote viewed and they were on par. Like, you can't make this up. Like, if you were lying, I would know. So what's happening is you've got this overlaying of a dimensional reality. So for example, like I said, the craft will come on us like a ghost. Well, the camera's trying to focus. It's going between the mist or the apparition or the physical being to what's in the room, because it's going like this, trying to focus. Mm-hmm. So there's that as well. Sometimes I think it may be my movement or their movement as well. But then some of the other footage, like the video of the grey extraterrestrial, that's completely clear. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You can see it even blink multiple times.
Right.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
I've seen it before, yeah.
Yeah, so I can understand that. And the thing is, I don't want people to believe me. The problem we've got with society right now and us as a collective is that we blindly believe. Whether it's you guys or me or religion, politicians, we need to come to a place where we need to go off belief system and go with knowing. And so blind belief is what's got us in this predicament, whether it's the control from the AI, the reptilians, religions, Vatican, the political systems. Because we blindly believe these elements, we give our power away.
Right.
And so what I want people to do, even with myself, is be discerning. I don't care what people think. I've got to that point now. It hurts like getting the amount of hate mail and threats that I do get. I'll admit that. But we need to come down to discernment, and I want people to make their own choices on the information that I provide and the details and the evidence, and do what they may with it. That's okay. But, I can understand the skepticism side, and I think skeptics have got a bad name. Because the problem we really have with is debunkers who have a preconceived notion.
Right.
And that's not going to change. But a skeptic, again, they'll look at both sides of the argument and come to a logical conclusion based on what they can perceive as evidence.
It's at least fair in that way. Right?
At least fair. So it's, but the thing is, all the footage is getting clearer and it's happening all the time. For 10 years now. I've got like 20 terabytes of data, most of it unrevealed, because even James and my brother and other people are going, you should be revealing this. And I'm like, but it looks fake to me.
Right.
And they're like, man, that's epic, they're looking at the card straight off the camera, straight into the computer. But it is what it is. So I think a lot of this is hard to believe as well. Unless people experience it, they can't really fathom it. And so I can expect that. But being open-minded is what I do ask people to come from that place. Yeah.
Do you wonder?
Like, what would you like to happen? Like, bridging, like, I guess you can say the spirituality aspect of everything you're describing to, like, the physical aspect of seeing crafts in the sky. And what would you tell people out there who are searching, who truly are looking for the truth, but don't really know exactly, like, what to believe, what to, kind of take in everything in this? And how would you bridge all of this together?
I think what happens for most people is they go through a series of what I call synchronistic events. That you don't have to look for it, it will find you through synchronicities. You'll know what to research, where to go across certain things. I think that's what they've got to go with, and their heart on that. Now, when they go with their heart, one thing I do recommend is you can look at things like a black box and a white box. I don't have a trash box anymore. I chuck everything in the grey section. Why? Because sometimes, even with the information from the extraterrestrials and other beings, I realised that when I thought it was full of crap, I wasn't at the level of consciousness to understand it yet. And then years later, something will confirm it. I'll go, wow, I just wasn't at that level to understand it. So go with, like, truth, go from the heart, but then if you're not sure, put in that grey box. Not to say it still couldn't be disinformation or a lie, but sometimes, a majority of the time, I just found out I wasn't ready or evolved enough to understand it. So, go with the guidance on looking into, UFO, spiritual aspects of, our reality or psychic stuff, paranormal, ghosts, all these sorts of things, but it is all connected. And that goes into when I experience now, a lot of the time, these geometric light realms. So there was an experience they showed me where everything down to like a subatomic level, everything's made up of these purple dodecahedrons, like they were purple hue. And they sort of zoomed out the grass, trees, people, everything was made up of this. And they zoomed out on the Earth was one of these. Now everything was like, what I was seeing was the blueprint. And I could look around at the other satellites, the other planets, and then out at the solar system, outside of it looking in, it was a dodecahedron. Now sometimes I would see these torsion fields going with it. It was beautiful geometry, but everything was it. The galaxy was one. Then I looked out even more, all the galaxies was one, and then the universe. And then they took me to the side of the dodecahedron. I'm looking around, and I'm telling you now, there was, as far as you can imagine, these dodecahedrons. And what they revealed was each one of those dodecahedrons, with all the smaller ones inside them, which would encompass our planets and star systems and even other realms, it was source, like what we would consider as God or universal consciousness, but it was one. And I'm looking at other universes with their own planes of dimensions. So if you can imagine my body is God, and each one of the microscopic cells, it's us, take that to this being a super God consciousness. It's a stupid term, but I'm just using it as an example. And each one of the microscopic cells would be a different universe. And they showed me that when we get to a certain state of consciousness, if we decide, we can divide like a cell off from that dodecahedron, create our own universe with our own planes and dimensions. And so I had to stop there. That's as deep as the information I'll ever go. I can go a lot deeper into extraterrestrial races and a lot of our history and where we're going and things like that. But with that information, I was like, I can't go any further than that. I mentally couldn't. Seeing that was just showing me how everything is one consciousness interacting with itself, and that it goes fractal even on a source level. So when looking at that, it shows you how big and beautiful things are. Now, I threw a lot of the religious, I was sort of brought up in a Christian sort of thing, but it wasn't really. But I threw a lot of that stuff out. Now, the blue beings I spoke of, they revealed themselves to be the Elohim, which is our highest aspect. So it's different from the blue avians, but talking the core, it sounds like they're all part of the same group with different types of these blue spheres. So later on, they showed me, I had an experience with a being called Metatron. He looked like a transformer, a purple hue, color, geometry. And what I've come to find out is that he's master of the electron. Now, the electron, from what he was showing me, was that he's in every single electron. It's like there's only one electron in the universe, even though there's like billions of them, they're all symbiotic. They've got a connection. So when usually people are being pulled on crafts through advanced spiritual technology, when they're astral traveling, a lot of people describe a purple hue color. It's actually Metatron they're going through to access all that. So he's everywhere at once. And so these advanced beings that don't even have a type of vehicle, they have a Merkaba, or a light body. Now, how that operates, they'll show me, is that once you get to a certain level of consciousness, you can break down to an electron, which is a negative charged subatomic particle. And because they all have a symbiotic relationship, through thought, they can pop out at another one through intention. And from there, it's like they go from that and do-do-do, bang, they're there. And they're basically like swimming through the electrons through, when we're seeing them in the sky, how they operate. They are part of that matrix, and like we all are, but on the level that they're at with their intention and consciousness, they're able to do these types of things. And so going to experience that, the geometric light realms that reside around source, so that blueprint I was talking about, there's many different blueprints, but emanating out from it is what I call the geometric light realms, which is like the colors of the rainbow. And that is mainly where I'm going now, to where the light beings and angelics and different beings of that nature, that's where they are, but they're fractal at the same time. And from that place, I can usually get through to source as well. But there is music with these realms, and what the music is the music is a vibration of that density. We hear people go to these angelic realms and hear this beautiful music. It's beautiful, but it's not music. It's a byproduct of that vibrational frequency that you were experiencing at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So
It's mind-blowing stuff, man.
yeah, it's pretty trippy.
Well, and it's really interesting too that you're actually interacting with these things through almost geometric or geometry, right?
Yeah. And they can take on any form within that too, or almost turn it into like a holodeck on Star Trek. Like they can do it. Even some of the crafts I've been on, there'll be these egg-shaped crafts that I've seen the Pleiadian structure through thought from their light body, and they look like an egg, and there's a rainbow iridescent effect to it. And when you go in them, you just walk into it, and even through intention, they could go, right, we're in an ocean, and as far as you can see, you could go swimming in the ocean.
Wow.
You know, so, but they're able to manipulate that. They're different from the other types of Pleiadians and the other types of crafts. There's many different races there. So it's different technologies, different levels of consciousness that is out there, which is, you know, that's the way it is.
One of the biggest or the strangest things about actually being at ECETI this time, or that I've realized since I've been here, is when you're not dealing with the negative ETs, at least, the spiritual aspect of this is so incredibly intrinsic to the sightings and the interactions people are having with extraterrestrial beings.
It's happening here all the time. It's happening worldwide, but this is a vortex sort of hotspot. So it opens that space for people to delve into these things and do it as a collective as well, with the Skywatchers and things like that. It's just a great place for, you know, again, for people to experience it.
Yeah, I mean, I had my own experiences being here. So many things that I've seen, and like wonderful, beautiful things in other dimensions, like what you're talking about, like these more angelic realms and everything. And also, like last night, there was the brightest UFO I've seen yet going across this. We were getting ready to go inside, and this massive, huge UFO was going right underneath us. And when I shined the light on it, like something ejected out of the UFO, and then it like went down, and then it just like started going straight, and so it was like disappearing in the horizon. And we were just like, wow, you know, that's crazy.
If it's going to happen here, it's going to happen. You know what I mean? It's like expect the unexpected.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not a craft, it could be an extra dimensional being, or even Bigfoot, it seems. So.
Yeah, it seems that anything and everything does pop up here and people experience it, which is weird. You know, usually it's a few different types of phenomena maybe in an area, but not the whole thing. You know, anything and everything. So.
Hey, Peter, so we're going to actually have to wrap this up with you, but I think I can speak for Ben here that, you know, you have a home here with us. So anytime you want to come on and you want to talk about this stuff, I'm really sorry about, you know, all the attacks you've been getting and stuff. It's really unacceptable, and this information needs to be out. So anytime you need to, you're welcome to come on.
Thank you. Thank you both for what you're doing. And it's a great format, you know, for people like ourselves getting out information, and you guys are doing a brilliant job. So thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. And thank you to the viewers as well.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and if you get any more great footage or anything, we would love to, like, you know.
I'll drop you a line.
Absolutely.
I'll just send you a link and check it out.
Yeah, that's
And man,
awesome.
keep going. I know you're not going to. It sounds like you're really solid on your path, but don't let the turkeys get you down, man.
Yeah, no, I won't. And same with you guys. Yeah,
All right.
thank you.
All right, well, so why don't you take us out, Peter?
Yeah, I'm Peter Maxwell Slattery, and we'll see you out on the edge.